Okay, in this video we are going to be making custom texture brushes using Adobe Photoshop. So once you have Photoshop open, we're going to go over here and we're going to say open and find one of the black and white images that you edited from the previous video. And when you get that open, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to crop it down to a square. So if you go over here to your cropping tool, alright, and you can set the ratio up here, whatever size you want. You can hit clear, it'll clear everything out. You can reset it. Just go to 1:1 square, and you can even crop that in if you want. Double click and it'll crop it down to square. We can make a brush from this right here if we want to. It will have square edges and straight lines on the edges, and I don't want that. So what we are going to do is, well, first let's check the image size. So if we go to image size, about 2500 by 2500 at about 300 dpi. This is close enough. This will work. Alright, so what we want to do is we want to edit this, and we're going to do non-destructive editing again in case I want to change something. I'm going to go and I'm going to add a layer mask by clicking down here. Here's my mask. On top of the mask, I'm going to put a gradient. So I'm going to go here to gradient. It's here with your paint bucket tool. If the gradient's not up, it's under the paint bucket tool. Click your gradient, make sure you're on circle gradient, and then click in the center and pull out. Alright, and there is our gradient. Now we're going to go here, make sure you're clicked on the photo, not on the layer mask, but now that you're back on the photo, and we're going to go to edit and say define brush preset, and you can call it whatever you want. This was called pebble texture. I'm going to leave it at that and just say okay, and there you can see there's our brush right there. So I'm going to go here, I'm going to put a new layer on, and I'm going to fill that layer with this white background color by going Control Delete, and it just dumps in whatever the background color is. On a Mac it might be Command Delete, I'm not exactly sure, but something like that. And now there's my brush. Alright, that's pretty big, so I'm going to scale it down quite a bit. Oops, maybe not quite that much. And you can start to paint with this. Okay, if you look here, here's your brush over here in your brush list. If I go to Window and I say Brush Settings, now I can go in and I can play around with the settings on this brush that I just made. I can choose Shape Dynamics and Angle Jitter. It just changes the angle. You can see it changes the angle every time I use it, every time I click down, so it doesn't come the same. You don't get the same shapes every time. I'll leave that on. Size Jitter. It'll adjust the size slightly. It'll be a little bit different size each time. Scattering. That's just how far apart they spread. Here's what it looks like. It spreads it all over. It might need it for a texture sometime. I don't really like it, so I'm just going to leave it off. Texture, let's see. Adjust the brightness a little bit. Okay. Dual brush, not going to use that. Color dynamics, I'm not going to mess with that. Transfer, not going to mess with that. I don't know what brush pose is, so I'm not going to mess with it. Wet edges I like. It softens the edges up a little bit, and they kind of start blurring together, like a little more watercolory. Build up I like. So it gets a little darker each time you go over a certain specific area with it. So I like build up on. Smoothing, well, it does just what it says. It smooths the edges out just a tiny bit. I'm going to leave that on. And I'm going to say that's okay. And let's call it a new brush preset. And I'm going to call it Pebble Custom. And that'll save all those presets that we just made. So there's your new brush. And you can make as many as you want of those. Let's see if we pick another color. Let's see, what mode am I in? Mode am I in grayscale? Let's go to RGB. Don't merge. Alright. Oh, there. Okay, now I can pick different colors. And if I want to go back to black. So make a bunch of custom brushes and do your paintings with those. Give it a shot, and if you run into any trouble, don't hesitate to send me an email or catch me in class. Thanks.